I'm on the right one now. I'm the host now, even. Right, very good. Okay, I'm on. I'm going to tell you, you'll see, you'll catch up, you'll find it. Yeah, I'll wait another minute or two. It's not 8 o'clock, actually, but see about it. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Oh, all is good.
Good evening. Anybody got some nice things to say?
Mm.
Who will shout? What did you do for the yard site? Did you do anything interesting for Shai's yard site?
No, I had an Achaim, that's all. Nothing exciting.
Has everybody started preparing the challenge for Thursday night?
It'll be quite good.
You mean have we asked the Rebbetzin to make a challenge for us?
You don't make your own challenge? No, you're right. I don't make
No.
I think one person should be designated to make it and drop a ball around.
I think the Maggid should do that.
Shiur, you just put your name forward.
I gave over the cholent making duties a few years ago, so sorry, I'm no longer qualified cholent maker. I'll have to pass.
I'll let you off then.
I hope you don't mind me asking live, but is your wife finished sitting Shiva?
Got up this morning.
This morning. Wow. Do you have any specific halachas? You got different halachas last week, but now you've got any halachas? No.
No, Sphera.
What Sphera means?
No, got the Sphera now. Everyone's got the same.
But would you? Otherwise, you would be allowed to cut your hair now.
Yeah,
Not for the Sphera.
Yeah, nothing else. Yeah.
I hear you should only have the chamas and simchas from now on.
Okay, thank you.
How many siblings? How many siblings does your wife have? How many children were there?
7 altogether.
7. You're one of the oldest, youngest in this. I mean,
Oldest.
Oh, your wife's the oldest child.
Yeah.
And you got any non-married children? No.
5.
5 non-married children. Another. How's the youngest?
12.
Can I ask, sorry, how old was your father-in-law then?
59.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't realize it's quite young. I'm saying it's quite young.
Yeah.
Actually, it's interesting. My brother-in-law knew him quite well. I don't know if you know Moshe Brandeis, so about Shtickle neighbors.
Which Brandeis?
From which road is it? Wellington or something? I don't know. You
Norman Road? Norman Road.
What?
I live on Norman Road.
Norman, maybe it's on the corner. Norman and okay, we should only hear the sisters. Okay, we're starting now. So if anybody can anybody got something good to say, not. Somebody sent me a sweet joke about this year's a leap year. I don't know if you noticed. There's 29 days in February. So it's a strange leap year. 29 days in February, like 300 in March and 7 years worth in April or something. So April seems to be going on and on and on and on. Anyway, okay. We're starting Daf Nun Beis Amud Beis, about 6 lines down from the wide lines. And the Gemara, by the way, came up with another halacha, which not to do so much to do with our sukkah. Let's just do this more Gemara. But Oid Shoam. Gemara is discussing what the Talmud asked his Rebbe Rabbi Lezer. He said as follows: Shomati, I heard, shecholkin be'machat lemachat, that there's a nafkamina, there's a difference in halacha between one kind of need and another one. Omar Lois, he said to him, Shemanu Shomati in Shabbos. Regarding Shabbos, there's a difference. The Gemara always calls a needle a machat, regardless if it's got a hole inside it or not. In English, a needle specifically refers to the thin piece of metal which has a very pointy end at the end, and it has an eye at the other end to thread the thread through. But if it doesn't have an eye, it's actually called a pin. In Chazal, it's always called machat. Now, a person carrying a machat with an eye on Shabbos can be chayav chatos, because a needle is something of value. Without an eye, it is used as an ornament. If you ever want to make it look very, very fancy, what you should do is go outside in the street and put pins inside your jacket. It's the height of fashion. And therefore, that is not considered chiyuv chatos. That's not chatos. It's only d'Rabbanan because it's not quite as chomer. So the Gemara says like this. Regarding tumah, all kinds of needles, those with eyes, without eyes, they're all the same. Read the Gemara. A needle is a piece of metal, and we said yesterday already that metal is mekabel tumah, even though it doesn't have an ability to hold something. Wood is only mekabel tumah if it's like a cup, a bowl. Metal, even a flat piece of metal, is mekabel tumah. If a needle has a missing either the sharp point or the eye point, and here it's even got a picture of it for those who wish. Here, here's a needle. Can you see it? So this is called the chudah, the end, and this is called the uktzah, so is the end, and chudah is the eye. So whether it's missing either the eye or the end, it is not mekabel tumah. Does anybody want to suggest why? Why, if a needle is missing an eye or an end, is it not mekabel tumah? Oh, very good. It's useless. Therefore, it's not a keli. So therefore, even though we said metal, it's not a keli. So the Gemara says, how could you say all needles are the same? They're not the same. So the Gemara says, Ki ka'amale b'shleima, all complete needles are the same. So if a needle has rust on top of it, if you can no longer sew with it, there's so much rust that you can't sew with it. As long as it's noticeable, meaning that the rust is so bad that when you sew with it, the rust spreads onto the clothes, people will never use such a needle, and therefore it's not mekabel tumah. So you see over here that not all the needles are the same. When it has been smoothened down. Says the Gemara, a needle is allowed to be carried on Shabbos. Because, why is a needle allowed to be carried on Shabbos? Anybody know why? Why allowed to carry a needle on Shabbos? All sewing is muktzah, not allowed to sew, sewing is forbidden. Because people use needles for other things. If let's say they've got something stuck, like a chas v'shalom, if a person has a, what's the thing inside your hand? Splinter. Then you can use a needle to take it out. So the needle is not actually muktzah. If it's got no hole, then it's not Tommy. Where it's not complete, where it's the raw state. And therefore like this, a needle in its raw state, before you have intention to, before you finished it, it's not mekabel tumah. If you've got a needle and you haven't stamped a hole in it, it's not mekabel tumah, you can't use it. But if you've decided that you're never going to stamp a hole in it because you tend to use it as a pin, then it is mekabel tumah. So he was talking about a complete needle, and a complete needle, there's no difference if it has a hole or no hole.
Can you not use the one without the hole to, when you go to the alterations, to keep, that's the use, isn't it?
Yes. But that is a very good point. That is if you intend to keep it like that. If your intention is eventually to stamp a hole in it, it's not considered a keli because you've not actually done, it's not complete. It's like the piece of leather we discussed yesterday where you're planning to make a shoe. While it's a piece of leather, it's not mekabel tumah. Getting back to the main point of this perek. This perek describes at great length all the things that animals are allowed to wear on Shabbos and not allowed to wear on Shabbos. There were many different kinds of animals and many different kinds of equipment of clothing. As I said, it's not easy because we don't have many animals. We don't put out many equipment on our animals. As I said, the on nafkunas halacha l'maisa as well. Now, we must remember, as we said already, there are two kinds of isum. One's called mechama, where you make the animal working for you, and one's called shvisas behemto. Here, we're not talking about the animals working for you. We're talking about where you just, what's the word for it? The animal has to rest. Besides for the animal resting, There are other reasons why it's forbidden to put things on animals. One of them is that if you put something precious on an animal, let's say you put an expensive splint that the animal shouldn't have a broken leg getting worse. The halacha is the animal is not allowed to walk around it on Shabbos because we're nervous that it might fall off the animal and you'll get so worried you'll pick it up. So there are other isurim involved besides for shvisas behemte. I think what Mishnah explains. Chamoy, a donkey, yoytze b'mirdas, is allowed to go with a saddle cloth. There's such a thing as a saddle, which you put to be able to sit on, and underneath that is a saddle cloth. The saddle cloth's primary purpose is what? Who knows? What's the purpose of saddle cloths? What do you do? Why do you put saddle cloths on all your donkeys?
Comfort.
Comfort, even more specific, warmth.
Of the animal.
So yeah, that means to protect the animal. So it's mutter because it's not a burden. It's like a person wearing a coat if he's cold. So the donkey is allowed to wear a person is allowed to put on his donkey a saddle cloth because it is necessary. It's manshik shiur boy only if it's tied on it. If it's loose, it's forbidden, and we'll explain why. Because if it's loose, it might fall off, you'll carry it, etc. Zechorim yoitz now. The Mishnah is going to tell us a list of things which the Gemara explains. I'm not going to explain it to the Mishnah because more discuss at great length. Zechorim yotzim levuvin. Male animals are allowed to go levuvin. The Gemara will explain what that means. Rechelos, females, yotzim shchuzos, kavulos, ukvunos. And the Gemara explains all of this. Or isim yotzim tzroivos. You're allowed to take goats tzroivos. What is tzroivos? Tzroivos means like this. The goats, they have milk, others. Now, sometimes a person would want to stop his goat from giving milk. Can anybody think of a reason why? Why would you want your goat to stop it?
It's pregnant and he needs to feed this baby.
Oh, you want to get pregnant again, so if you wanted to stop it feeding.
Yeah, while it gives, at the beginning of this, how it works with cows, at the beginning of pregnancy, they're still giving milk, and then halfway through.
I beg to differ. I appreciate your expertise, but Rashi says otherwise. Rashi says, maybe look, you can look at Rashi and tell me if you got it from Shat and Rashi. If Rashi says that by stopping it to feed, it will then get pregnant. Well, okay, it could be otherwise. Any other reason to stop feeding? Any other reason to stop feeding? It gets fatter. The fatter it gets, the less it feeds, the fatter it gets. Another reason why you might strap an udder is because you want to save the milk inside it. That means you would put a cup underneath it, that when it's dripping milk, you should be able to save it. We'll come to it later. That's a whole different kind of saving it. So you're allowed to do that on Shabbos. No, he's not allowed. You do it before Shabbos, and goat is allowed to go out tzuros. Rabbi Yossi forbids all of this. And the Gemara will explain what that means. Meaning that if you want to dry up the milk, it's okay. You want to save the milk, it is forbidden. When you're saving the milk, it is much more of a carry. Now we're starting Daf Gimel Amud Aleph, top of the page, and this is actually today's Daf. Omar Shmuel. You're only allowed to put a saddle cloth on an animal on Shabbos if it was tied before Shabbos. The posh pshat is, why does an animal wear a saddle cloth? In order to keep it warm. If you never put it on before Shabbos, it's a raya that you don't really need the animal to be warm. You're just putting it as a burden. But if it's always wearing it, then it's normal and therefore it's considered. The next Mishnah is Medurek. Why? Diktani. A donkey is not allowed to go with a saddle cloth if it's not tied. If it's not tied at all, pshita, of course it's not allowed to. Why? As we said, one of the big problems of letting an animal walk with your equipment is we're scared the equipment will fall and you'll come to carry it. So obviously if it's not tied at all, it's forbidden. That Mishnah is talking about it's not tied from Friday. This Mishnah is talking about it is tied from Friday. Shmamino. It's allowed to go out with a saddle cloth if it's tied on Friday, so it's obviously for warmth purposes. Not with a saddle, even if it's tied from Friday, even if you've got a donkey and it's always got a saddle attached to it, For Shabbos, you have to take it off. Why? A saddle is not for the comfort of the animal. It doesn't keep him warmer. You're doing it just in case you want to go riding on it. So therefore, it's considered a burden. And therefore, even if the donkey always has it on, don't say, well, since it has it always on, therefore it must be for warmth. No, it's forbidden and you have to take it off. You're allowed to, if it's tired from Shabbos. When you've got a saddle, you want it to stay in place. The way they would do it is they'll put the saddle on the back of the donkey and take one strap and do it around its stomach. And then another strap going back, towards its tail, and all the way under. The reason is, when it was going up on a hill, you needed the one around the stomach that it shouldn't fall back. And when it was going downhill, it should have the strap at the back. Have you ever seen people putting something on top of a car? So you put straps around this way and straps the forward and back. That way, the burden doesn't go too far each way. That is forbidden on Shabbos Kuntum Shum Gamliel. The reason it's forbidden on Kuntum Shum Gamliel is because that looks like you're planning to take a burden to the market, and therefore it's forbidden. If you look over here, it's got over here the straps of the donkey, round and from forward to back, if you can see it. So therefore, round is forbidden and forward to back is forbidden. There's one strap from the tail to the head and one strap around the stomach. That is all forbidden. Says the Gemara. Now, according to Rashi, this has nothing to do with our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is discussing a problem of carrying, and therefore it's only a problem if you take it from Rosh Hashanah to Shabbos, etc. He's describing a completely different problem. A person sees his animal is cold on Shabbos. Poor animal, it's cold. So what does he want to do? He wants to put a saddle cloth on. So what's the problem? Why should it be awesome? It's not carrying. The answer is one's not allowed to, on Shabbos, be matriach himself unnecessarily. You're not allowed to work unnecessarily on Shabbos. Therefore, the question is giving comfort to your animal permitted on Shabbos? Is that okay as part of your Shabbos afternoon? Are you allowed to give comfort to your animals? Amalei mutter. That's okay. You can put a cloth over your donkey on Shabbos. So why not allowed to put a saddle cloth, a saddle? Ishtek, he kept quiet. Now Rashi explains that when he kept quiet, Rav Asi misunderstood. He thought he had no answer. And because of that, he didn't agree with him that a saddle is forbidden. And now he thought that a saddle was also permitted. So now he's going to bring him a brisa to show that the saddle is actually forbidden. You mustn't carry it. What you do is, if you want to get a donkey to drop its saddle, what do? You make the donkey walk up and down the courtyard. If you're not allowed to take it off, of course you're not allowed to put it on. So therefore you're not allowed to put a saddle. If you're not allowed to put a saddle on, why not put a saddle cloth? Leave him alone. Why? You're allowed to put a basket over the animal's head on Shabbos that he should be able to eat. Here's a very simple picture of it, because we're going to have quite a lot of discussion about this churrasco, so we'll get one picture at least in churrasco. It's what you do is, you put a basket of food over the animal's head, so the animal is able to eat constantly without exerting itself to lower its head all the way to the ground. And he holds that it is mutter to do that on Shabbos. The kavachim mirdas. Kavachim you're allowed to put on a cloth. Why? Mirdas, a cloth, is to keep it warm because it's cold. A basket to eat is to be able to eat. But you can eat crouching. Only eating crouching is not the same pleasure. If already you're allowed to give it food for its pleasure, kavachim you're allowed to protect it from the cold. Because of pleasure, it's not kavachim. So we've got an argument over here. Are you allowed to, everybody agrees according to Rav, according to this stage, that Rav and Shmuel both agree you're allowed to cover your animal to keep it warm. The machlokes is only, are you allowed to put a basket of food? And the question being, are you allowed to exert yourself on Shabbos to give your animal pleasure? You repeat it in front of Shmuel that you're not allowed to give a food basket to your animals. If that's what Abba Rav said, why was he called Abba? Why was Rav called Abba? Why did he call him father? Either. Sorry? He called him Abba as a respect, father, somebody who's wise and wisdom. If this is what Rav said, he knows nothing about Shabbos. It's an interesting kind of situation. It gives him respect. He says if he forbids this, he knows nothing about Shabbos. Shmuel vehemently held that you are allowed to give a food basket to an animal. You're allowed to put a blanket on the donkey on Shabbos. You're right. That's what Aryoch said in Bovel. Aryoch man, who's Aryoch? Shmuel. Shmuel was called Aryoch because he was a king in justice. Everybody passed. Aryoch was one of the 5 kings. One of the 4 kings. And since he was considered the king, with Shmuel, the halach is always like Shmuel when it comes to Chosh Mishpat. Oh, says the Gemara. Well, Rav also said it. Why did you have to say only Shmuel said it? That you're not allowed to hang a food basket on That's what Aruch said in Bovel, that you're not allowed to do a food basket. Sorry, I said before the other way around. According to Shmuel, you're not allowed to do a food basket. You're allowed to do a blanket. According to Rav, both are permitted. The Kulam Emiras Medas Mutter, Ma'ishno Mokaf, and says the Gemara, Shani also the Efshad Nafil Memela. A saddle falls off on its own, so therefore you shouldn't exert yourself. That to warm it up, you're allowed to. To cool it down, it is forbidden. Meaning that to warm up a donkey, you're allowed to on Shabbos, but to cool it down is forbidden. Why? When it's cold and you want to put a blanket to warm it up, so the animal is in pain, it's permitted. A donkey, I feel with Kufas Tammuz Kuyala, even in Tammuz he's cold. A donkey is always cold, the Gemara says. Since a donkey is always cold, so therefore putting a blanket on Shabbos is permitted. Why is it permitted? Because a donkey is always cold, so therefore you're doing something to give it its creature comforts. But to take a blanket off, that is forbidden, because since it's always cold, there's no need to take it off. I once heard from a great mechanech, was nifter already. I don't know if you've heard of him, Herschel Goldstein. He lived in Manchester a long time ago. He used to say, what's it mean that a donkey is always cold? That even in the middle of the summer is always cold. He used to say it as a joke, as derech b'dichusa, for people living in Manchester. In Manchester, sometimes you can have a cold day in the middle of the summer. But what happens is people wake up in the morning and they say to themselves, it's summer now, can't possibly be cold. And they go outside without a cardigan, without a coat, and they catch cold. And he says that's what the Gemara means, that a donkey, meaning a donkey is always an expression of a fool. A fool, even in the summer, can be cold. A wise person feels if he's cold, he puts in a coat. If he's warm, he doesn't. But a fool says to himself, if it's summer now, there's no way I'm going to wear a coat. And he ends up getting cold. He was very makpid, Herschel, that a person should always dress warmly. And he felt this is what the Gemara is trying to teach us over here. Okay. Now we're going on with this topic. What are you allowed to do for your horse and your animals on Shabbos? You're not allowed to let a horse go out with the tail of a fox. In those days, people held that a fox tail, hanging it over your head, was good for you. Anybody you know walks around with a fox tail over their head? No? Okay, but it's meant to be good for animals and things like that. Not with a red thread between his eyes. If a person has emissions from where he would normally urinate and it's constantly flowing, he's not allowed to put a pocket on there. And the goats shouldn't put pockets over the others because it's carrying. And the cow is not allowed to go with a muzzle on its mouth to stop it. And a young mule or young horse is not allowed to go with baskets in its mouth. An animal is not allowed to go with a special kind of shoe on its feet. Kimia is an amulet. the older days, amulet was a very, very, very big thing. There's hundreds of halachas about kmiyas and beisos, and it's got tremendous arichos. Nowadays, we're not so used to it. There is such a thing as a kmiyah, an amulet. It's a piece of parchment which, if you wear it, it saves you from all problems. Now, there are those which are mumcha and those which are not mumcha. Mumcha means those which we've seen that they work, and those which we've seen that they haven't, which we haven't yet seen that they work. An animal is not allowed to go with an amulet on Shabbos. This is a chumrah with animals which human beings don't have. An animal is allowed to go with a bandage on its foot, on a wound, or with splints on a fracture, on a broken bone, and it's allowed to go with a what's the word for the uterus, which is embryo, which is coming out. It's permitted because it's still part of the mother. You're allowed to stop up the bell while it's on its neck, and allowed to go in the courtyard. A bell is forbidden on Shabbos. Why? A bell makes a noise, and Hashmoa Skol is forbidden on Shabbos. So if your animal has a bell, you're not allowed to go with it in public or in private. If you block up the bell, that means what you do is you stuff the bell, then that way it makes no noise. You're allowed to in a private area, not in a public area. The more explains later, if you take it in a public area, what happens is people think that you're selling it. In the olden days, when you wanted to sell a cow or a sheep or a horse, you would hang a bell. The bell would ornament it. Actually, once I saw it in Switzerland, cows walking around with bells. But the point is that it makes it enhance the cow, the animal, and you get a better price for it. So therefore, you're not allowed to do it in a public place. In a private place, if it's blocked up, it's okay. Okay. You're not allowed to go out to the food basket to privately, it's okay. So you see clearly that you're allowed to indulge your animals by hanging food baskets on their necks. So you see that you're allowed to exert yourself for the pleasure of your animal. We're talking about young animals. Young animals have very long necks, very, very short necks and very long feet. So for them to eat from the floor is very, very difficult. So we've got no proof that you're allowed to exert yourself for the pleasure of the animal, only for pain of the animal, because for an animal, a young animal to eat is very difficult. It's like an amulet. No, it's permitted. It's a proof that we're talking about something which is permitted only for pain. You're not allowed to let an animal go outside, even with an amulet, even if you know that it works. Only if it's not a mumcha, or mumcha shapidomi, if it's a mumcha, it's okay. We're discussing an amulet that's not being proven. It's not a, what's a good word for mumcha in English? Not recognized, not
confirmed.
Not confirmed. Is that what the article use?
Not effective.
Effective. Not being proved to be effective. Okay.
Effective.
Yeah, effective. Very good. Okay. It says more. We're talking about one which is not effective. It says clearly that we're talking about one which is effective. We've seen an amulet which is effective for humans, but it's not effective for animals. Is there such a thing as an amulet which is effective for people? But it's not effective for animals. And human being that has mazal, he has a special malach to constantly watch over him. Messiah. Why is this a chum of animals over human beings? In the end of the day, both human beings and animals are allowed to go outside with an amulet if it's been confirmed that's effective. And neither of them are allowed to go if it's not effective. It's going on the sandal, on the slipper. That means an animal which has got a wound on its leg is not allowed to go outside with a slipper on. The reason is because the slipper may fall off and the owner will decide, wow, this slipper is going to get lost, and he'll start carrying it. But a human being, if he's got something on his leg, a wound, is allowed to walk with a slipper. Why? because if the slipper falls off, he'll put it immediately back on because it's painful for him to walk without the slipper. So that is the difference. An animal is not allowed to walk with a sandal, and by a human being is allowed to. Toshima, sochin, you're allowed to anoint, mefarchesin, you're allowed to scrape. Le'odam, ve'ein sochin mefarchesin le'behema. You're not allowed to go outside on the Shabbos afternoon and start banging your animal to massage it. Or we're not about a case where there's a wound, and therefore you can see you're not allowed to exert yourself even for pain for an animal. The wound is finished. For pleasure, you're not allowed to, but if it's in pain, you're allowed to. An animal that's got too much blood, it's got a congestion of blood. You can't put it in cold water to cool it down. So you see over here that you're not allowed to, on Shabbos, do something to alleviate the pain of an animal. It's a kasha on what we said before, that you're allowed to put a blanket over an animal to alleviate its coldness. So why over here do we not allow you to put the animal in cold water to alleviate the congestion of blood? And there we do allow you to put a blanket. We don't allow you to do medication because we're scared that you might come to grind medicines, and therefore it's forbidden. A person as well. For a person to go for a cold shower or dip into cold water, it's okay. Because it doesn't look like he's trying to heal himself. It looks like he's just trying to cool down. Therefore it's okay. Let an animal, when it's got too much blood, stick it into cold water, and it shouldn't be a problem because people will think it's just cooling down. And says, there's no such thing as animals cooling down. People don't do that kind of thing for animals, only for human beings. And therefore, for animals, it's forbidden. For human beings, it's mutter. We don't do gezerus on animals for Tanya. There's a important halacha called tchum. Tchum is that you're not allowed to go more than 2,000 amos on Shabbos. Not only you're not allowed to go 2,000 amos, but your items, whatever belongs to you, is also not allowed to go more than 2,000 amos. This is the whole sugya at the end of Beitza. And from there, the Gemara discusses, for example, what happens if you own an animal and you give the animal to a shepherd. So which 2,000 animals is he allowed? Your 2,000 animals or the shepherd's 2,000 animals? These are important halachas. The Gemara says like this. If an animal is outside your tchum, you're not allowed to go out of the tchum to fetch it. But you're allowed to call the animal and come. We're not goes, you might come to take it, so you see we're not goes about animals. We're talking about where his tchum and the animal's tchum are overlapping. Meaning that you gave the animal to a shepherd, and therefore for the animal to come into your tchum is not a problem. It's only a problem for you to go into the animal's tchum. So therefore you're allowed to call the animal to go to your area. Right? Let's imagine you're standing in one area, right? You're standing one place. An animal is given over to your shepherd in another place. Your 2,000 amos stop, but the animal's 2,000 amos is got through the shepherd. So it's standing with its own 2,000 amos, so that you can call it into your tchum, there's no problem. It's a machlokas tanoim whether you're allowed to do medicine for your animals. The Tanya Beimash Ochel Karshinim, an animal that eats karshinim, which is a kind of vegetation. The article translated as vetch, which I don't know what that is. I don't know if any of you know what vetch is. It's a kind of highly satisfying vegetation. Animals love it. And what happens is the animal ate too much, so it's got now a stomachache. You're not allowed to make it run around in order to loosen its bowels and to relieve itself. Why? You're not allowed to do medication for the animal on Shabbos. You are allowed to do medication for an animal on Shabbos. There's no problem with the reason is like this. If a person does medicine for a human being, he gets so concerned for his welfare, he may end up even doing a deraisa. But for an animal, a person is not a chayshish, and therefore you're allowed to. Says the Gemara, a zov is not allowed to go with a pocket, we have machlokas in two brises. Is a goat allowed to go with a pocket over its others. If it's very well attached, it's okay. If it's not well attached, it's forbidden. Why is it not good if it's not well attached? Oh, I see somebody's got a description of what vetch is, but it only says it stops in the middle of a sentence. Okay, I don't know. The point is that the animals love it. The Gemara said discusses feeding your animals with kalshinim. I don't know if knowing that it's called vetch helps us that much better. The point is like this, that, let's get, what was I saying? We're talking about, are you allowed to put pockets over the udders of a goat on Shabbos? And the Gemara says it makes a difference if it's mehadik, if it's properly attached or not. Why is there a difference if it's properly attached? Anybody want to suggest?
It won't come loose.
And then?
You might pick it up.
And you might carry it in the Shusharavim. If it's not properly attached, you put a pocket over your goat, udders, and then you see your goat prancing around, and then it falls off. So you might pick it up and carry it. So if it's properly attached, it's okay. You're taking away all the tanoim. You don't want to say it's machlokes tanoim. That means the Gemara brought a stira if you're allowed to put pockets over the others. The Gemara said one bias is yes, one bias is no. And the Gemara says it makes a difference if it's attached or not. Rabbi Yosef said it's machlokes tanoim tanoi. The tanoim is true. Rabbi Yosef said b'chulon l'chutz b'achilas hakvunos. He says machlokes tanoim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Yosef says the yovish le'lecholif, but not for the milk. If it's to dry the milk, it is permitted. If it's to catch the milk, it is forbidden because it's properly carrying. Shayudadeh and Gassim, they had massive udders. But also them in kisses, they had to make them pockets that the udders shouldn't get scratched with all the thorns because they had such big udders. So therefore, you see that sometimes it's there not to catch the milk, but rather to save the udder. And Rabbi Yehuda says to save the udders is permitted. To catch the milk is forbidden. His wife died. And she left him a little baby. He didn't have enough money to pay for a wet nurse. What happened was he was able to nurse his son. Hashem made a nest that a man was able to nurse his son. Look how great he is. That Hashem had to change around the order of creation. There's a very, very interesting chazal in Gilas Esther that it says that he oimein es hadassa. The word oimein is sometimes used as a witness. Chazal say that Esther was nifta, both her parents died, as you know, Pasuk says. So she had no father, no mother. They died straight after. One died, the father died before birth, the mother died immediately after birth. And Mordechai adopted her, and he also didn't have enough money to pay. So what happened was a nest happened that Mordechai Tzaddik nursed Esther Malka, and when she got older, he married her because she was his nephew. In Santa Maral, as Maral says, what's the Gemara arguing over here as to whether it was a good thing or a bad thing that a person was able to nurse a baby, a man was able to nurse a baby? The Maral says that, of course, the nest is a wonderful thing. But when Hakadosh was working up Derech HaTeva, then Hashem can sometimes do Yeshuas without needing to change Sidrei Bereshis. And Mordechai Tzaddik was a time of Golus. Hashem did not need to change Sidrei Bereshis. So therefore, the Gemara says on one hand it was good that Hashem made them big nest. On the other hand, it would have been better that the nest should have been happened in a normal way. They should get money to be able to provide for Esther. It's the sense of Chazal. Okay. Says the Gemara, that Hashem makes Parnasa so difficult that Hashem had to make a nest to provide food. We often see Nisim. Nachman says we often see miracles, but we never see that food is conjured up by itself. So we see that creating food in some level is more difficult than Nisim. Again, because of the time limits, we have a shortage. But it's interesting Gemaras that we see over here that for Parnasa is even a bigger Yeshua than Nisim itself. Since the Gemara mentions interessant things, the Gemara mentions one other very interesting thing. He married a woman that was missing a limb. He never recognized that she was missing a limb until she died. Look how great the woman was, how tznistic the husband never noticed. The woman is obviously tznistic. It's an unbelievable story. That a man was married and he never knew that his wife was missing a limb. And that shows how great tznius can be with a couple that he never knew. So Moshe says, if that's Moshe Weinstein, if that's the case, how did he find out when she was nifta? So Moshe learns all kinds of lichas kavua from this. That when he buried her, it was necessary for him to find out. But Maisa, till she died, he never knew. Okay. It's a long Moshe Sukkot. Okay. The Mishnah tells us a long list of things animals which are permitted and forbidden, and different kinds of animals and different kinds of clothing that they would wear. Now, when I did it in the Mishnah, I did not explain it at all, because the Gemara describes at length different pshatim. So now the Gemara explains what the Mishnah is saying. Zechorim yotzim levuvin. They're allowed to go levuvin. My levuvin. Omar huna tusri. Tusri means they're tied up in pairs. The reason they would tie them up in pairs is in order that they should not escape. So they would tie the goats up in pairs in order they should not escape. My mashmat al levuvin ishna de kroivihu. How do you know the word levuvin means attachment and close? The simple translation is, you have captured by heart my kala. Akdosh Baruch Hu says to Klal Yisrael that your good deeds are so great that you've captured my heart. Imagine somebody says to his wife that what you do is so special that I'm completely caught up by you. That's how Akdosh Baruch Hu speaks to Klal Yisrael. So we see the word libavtini means like attachment as well. So we see levuva means attached. That what happens is that you attach two goats together, they shouldn't escape. That's one pshat in the Mishnah, when the Mishnah says that you're allowed to do it. And why is it permitted? Because since it's necessary for the animals not to escape, it's shmira. It's a piece of leather that they would attach opposite their stomachs, opposite their hearts, that the wolves will not attack them and kill them. So they would put a piece of leather over their chest. Now, the Mishnah says male goats are allowed. According to this, the word levuva means attached, because it was attached to the heart. Do the wolves only attack males, not females? Why does Mishnah talk about males? What about female goats? Do female goats not need to be protection from the wolves? So the Gemara says, the male goats go first, so the wolves attack them first. The wolves never attack the back of the flock that they don't need protection. Male goats are fatter, so the wolves only attack the fatter ones. Or the never fat female goats. Do the wolves know the difference between the fat ones and the thin ones? Male goats, when they walk around, they walk with the nose high up in the air in an arrogant manner. And they walk kidovu when they're looking around. So the wolves feel threatened by the male goats. And since they feel threatened by the male goats, you need to put leather over their chest to protect them from the wolves. Before Shem explained, the Ran says that goats, when they're trying to escape a wolf, they rear up, and the wolf then jumps onto their chest. So if you put a leather piece against the chest, it protects them. They would put a piece of leather underneath the male parts, genitals, in order that the male will not be able to mate with the female. And that is levuvin. And so we've got three explanations. What's the word levuvin mean? What are the three explanations? Either that you tie the goats together in pairs, they shouldn't escape. Or levuvin means a piece of leather opposite the chest that the wolves shouldn't attack. Or a piece of leather next to the male parts that he shouldn't cohabit, he shouldn't mate with the female. Tosis, a very, very short Tosis, second to bottom Tosis tells us a very yesodistic point in grammar. I know everybody loves grammar. Rashi and Torah tells us many times. It's a very important point. Tosis asks the kasha that the word levuvin means attachment. How in the world does levuvin come to explain a piece of skin, leather, which was made to stop a male mating with a female. And Tosfos says that in Lashon HaKodesh, the same word is sometimes used for and against. Rashi mentions it. For example, to shorish means to take root, and to shorish can mean to uproot. The ledashnoi, Rashi says ledashnoi in Parshas, end of Parshas Truma. Ledashnoi means to add ashes and to take away ashes. It's a very important yesod in Lashon HaKodesh diktuk. So today says levuvin means to attach, and it can also mean to detach. So according to the third pshat, levuvin means that we put a piece of leather to stop them mating. So levuvin means to detach because it makes them never attach themselves, never mate. If you look at the second to bottom Tosfos, it's a very u'kamoyu harbe. It's a very important rash, a very important yesod. Okay. Says Yomi, how do you know we talk about mating? When a female has the tail down, the animal, the male, can't mate with it. So if you want to make sure that the animal should be able to mate, what you do is you lift the tail up and you tie it upwards that the male can mate with it. Since we're talking about there, in order, so therefore, the Mishnahs talk about different kinds of clothing which was used either to help mating or to stop mating. Sometimes you want animals to mate, and sometimes you don't want them to. So these are different things that a person would use. And that is what the Mishnah is talking about. So we've had 3 pshatim in the word levuvim, either attached as 2 pairs or on their chest or on the male parts, and 1 pshat in the word shchuzos. What does shchuzos mean? That it lifts up the tail. It says, how do you know the word shchuzos means to reveal? The pasuk there is a Mishnah describing how that just like Avodah Zarah entices a person, so to a zoyna can entice a man. And the Shlomo Melech compares them that they're both very dangerous. The pasuk says, "When the isha a woman comes towards him, top of Nun Daled Amud Aleph, shis zoyna, exposing his nus, with the tzuras leiv, and surrounded in a heart full of deceitful and bad thoughts." So we see that shis means to reveal, to expose. It means beis haboshus, Rashi says, the place of the znus, and therefore we see that shchuzos is referring to the mating area. Kvulos means that you tie the tail down that they can't mate. So we've got 3 things regarding this. Either tie the tail down or tail up, or you put something over the male organ of the animal in order they should mate. How do you know the word kavul means something to be unproductive? How do we know the word unproducing, not producing? So Moses says, Dichsiv. What happened was Shlomo Melech gave Hiram 20 cities as a reward for helping him build the Beis Hamikdash. And when he saw the cities, Hiram was not happy. Imagine getting 20 cities as a gift and not being very happy. What did he say about the cities? He called them Eretz Kovul. Just like we said, Kvulis means unproductive, he said it was a land which was unproductive. They were wrapped with silver and gold. If there were towns full of silver and gold, that people were wrapped up with silver and gold, was he disappointed? Imagine you get 20 towns where everybody in the towns are wrapped up with silver and gold. You'd be delighted. And yes, given the Asirim Mefanki, since it was a wealthy town and a spoiled town, therefore they won't work. So what's the point of having a town full of people all wealthy? Nobody will do a day's work. It was a land of sand where nothing really grows. That the leg would slip in when you've got sand. It's not firm, the ground. And people's legs would step into it all the way till the ankle. A land of the ankle of pay. So we see the word kovol means unproductive, either because they were wealthy and therefore they didn't bother working. Sometimes, Bel Ryan once said to me that when he was around Miami for many years, he said in the beginning he would get Bochum to clean his car for Pesach, and what would happen is they would charge him a couple of dollars and they would do it. Because with time, the Bochum became so wealthy, he became wealthier than him. He was rabbi in Miami. He said he always struggled there financially. He used to be close to him. And what happened was they wouldn't accept a couple of dollars to work on the car because they became too wealthy and became unproductive. So the word kavulos can be unproductive, either because it's a wealthy town, unproductive, or it's a santi town, and therefore nothing grew there. So we've explained so far what it means, kavulos, shchuzois, and levuvim. Now we've got one more. Kavunos. What are kavunos? My kavunos. When a baby sheep is born, the mother licks all its wool, and the wool becomes very, very white. And then the wool is very, very clean. And what would happen is, if you wanted to have good wool, you would put a coat over this sheep, and it would keep the coat on forever. And this coat was what we say kavunos. Here's got a picture of it. Did have a picture of it. Oh, sorry, he puts a picture in a different daf. It's to do with the fact that, here, can you see? Here it is. I don't know if you can see it properly. Can you, here. The animal's wearing a coat. They would wear a coat for their entire lives. Now, it's actually interesting, because even though the Gemara mentions it over here regarding Shabbos carrying, it actually comes up in a number of places in Shas. If you ever remember, what is milas? If somebody wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning tonight, says to you, what is milas? What would you say to him? A sheep that from the day that it is born was wearing a coat, and therefore the wool is particularly clean. That you would wrap it up for milas. What is tzuros? Itma. Oh no, so we already said what tzuros are. Tzuros are wrapped up for milk. And we had 3 shittas in our Mishnah. One Madama says it's all forbidden. Always it's forbidden. That means you're never allowed to take an animal out with its udders wrapped up. One Madama says it's always mutter. And one Madama says if it's to dry out the milk, it is permitted. If it's to catch the milk, it's forbidden. Itma. Rav Amalacha Krab Yehuda, that it depends if it's to dry it up. Shmuel Amalacha Krab Yosi. Rav Amar Livash Mutter, Liyavish Mutter, V'lo Lechalef, not for the milk. Shmuel Amar Echad Zeh V'echad Zeh, also it's always forbidden. Some have a slightly different version. It's the same halacha, the different versions. Is im Yotzei Tzuros Liyavish Lo Lechalef. V'shu Rav Yehuda B'Seir Amar Kach Halacha Avami Meifis Eze Liyavish Eze Lechalef. Rav Yehuda Ben B'Seir was choshesh like this: if we allow people to go out with others, just to dry out the udder, but not to catch the milk, what will happen is people will say that they're going out to dry out the milk, and really what they're doing it is to catch the milk, and therefore we'll never be able to know who's doing it in a permissible way and who's doing it in a forbidden way. And me mephis literally means who will take a lottery. When you don't know something and there's absolutely no way of finding it out, there's an expression in Lashon in the Gemara, again it comes up a very lot, me mephis, who would do a lottery? That's the literal translation. The meaning is, who can possibly know? Just like if you don't know something, you take a lottery, you still don't know. Also, yeah, me mephis, who would know whether it's for drying or for milk? And we the Ma'aseh Paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. So if you've got a goat, you're allowed to put on it a wrapping to dry out the milk, but not to catch the milk. I tell you what it is, because we don't do a daf on Shabbos, I'd like to go a bit further. Is everybody okay with this? We've got another 8 minutes. It's easy. Also, we're going to get to more interesting Gemara, if I'm allowed to say so. Let's do a bit more of this. What is an animal not allowed to? Tell us it's not allowed to go out with a cushion which was used to make the burden not hurt it. This is important. Okud means the legs and hands tied. Rogol means to make it that the camel shouldn't escape by making it 3-legged. Both Okud and Rogol were both there to make sure that the camel shouldn't escape. If you own a camel, how can you make the camel not escape? There are 2 options. One is to tie the legs to each other. That's called okud. You tie them up. Rogol is when you tie one leg, but you bend it back. If you've ever seen a camel is able to bend its leg all the way back. So if you look at the picture very carefully, it's good to see it. So this is awkward, where the legs are tied to each other, so therefore you can't escape. And this is rogul. Can you see the rogul, where the leg is bent back on itself and tied up? Either way, the camel cannot escape. And that is forbidden. And all other animals. You're not allowed to tie a bunch of camels and to draw them because it looks like going to the market. You're allowed to take ropes into your hand as long as you don't wrap it around your hand. More explain. Here again, I show you the two pictures. It's good, sometimes a picture helps. So here, you've got a bunch of camels tied to each other. That looks like a caravan. That is forbidden. This one is permitted because what you're doing is you're just taking different camels, each one with their own hand. That means if the camels are tied to each other and you're taking them all together, that looks like a caravan, that looks like a Zen Shabbos. If you just got a bunch of camels and you're holding the ropes for each camel separately, that's okay. Tana, you're not allowed to take it if it's got a cushion tied to its tail. A camel has a hump. That's the only animal. The camel's got a hump. When it's got a cushion tied to the hump and to the tail, then it is permitted because then it will not fall off, and then there's no chashash that you will come to carry it. If a camel's got a cushion tied to the uterus, which is falling out, then since it will not fall off because it's painful for the camel to release the baby, therefore it's not likely to fall off, and therefore it's permitted. So a cushion which can come off easily is forbidden. A cushion which is properly attached is permitted. The regel is tying one hand on the leg, meaning a front leg and a back leg. When Avraham was about to shecht Yitzchak, he tied his hands and legs to each other and took his neck back in order to be able to shecht him. And that's why it's called Akedas Yitzchak. You shouldn't bend the leg back and tie. It's two hands together, two legs together. So we see that okud doesn't mean the front leg and back leg. Okud means the two front legs together or the two back legs together, not the front leg and the back leg. And it says, he holds like another Tanya. The Tanya okud akedas v'regel, either or, that's okud. You shouldn't bend the leg back and tie. But Mitziosa is shver because the middle one says it's no good. That means halacha lemaisa makes no difference. The halacha is you're not allowed to let a camel go out tied up because that's a burden, not for its protection. And therefore, you're not allowed to bend its leg back and tie it. You're not allowed to tie its front leg to its back leg. And you're not allowed to tie the front legs or the back legs to each other. These are the halachas which are forbidden. And then the Gemara goes on to, what's the word for it? We'll stop here. I know it's only a few nights next mission, and then we'll have to we'll carry on. I have to tell you though that we've got a couple of daf of very, very, very exciting Agadata. It's worth, I sometimes say, it's like doing a daf for Yomi. One of the big pleasures is that even if we don't understand everything clearly, but many times people say to you, do you remember that Chazal? And you've never actually seen the Chazal inside the Gemara. That for Yomi, you get a chance to actually see as Chazal lay it out for you clearly. Unfortunately, the biggest, hardest thing about the Yomi is that after an hour, you have to then move on to the next stuff. And these kinds of Agadats, okay, but Mr. Hashem, these Gemaras though, the last Gemaras just describing all the different animals, tails and straps of leather and all the different things is more of a difficult Gemara because it's hard for us to picture it as we've never, at least I have never seen animals with all these adornments and what exactly they represent. But the main thing is that if it's if it's needed for the animal, it's permitted. If the chashash might fall off, it's forbidden. And if it's not needed for the animal, it's forbidden because it is it's a burden for the animal. We wish you a very, very good night. And with Hashem, So we'll carry on tomorrow from over here. V'lo yikshe gemalin, 7 lines to the bottom of Mundaled Amud Aleph. Any questions? Any holes? No, nothing. Okay, Atzloch, have a very, very good night. Atzloch with everything.
Shkrach, thank you.
Shkrach, everybody knows.
Oh, yeah, sure, thank you.
Atzloch with everything. Right. Where's Moishi? Oh.
Just the end session, yeah?
Yeah, end meeting. And you're doing, okay, right. Atzlocha.